Hi, I'm Eric Siegel, and today we're going to be checking out the NDUR Survival Tin. So let's go ahead and get it out of the plastic package and take a look at the contents. So it's got a whistle, a mini fire steel, a candle, cotton ball tinder, fishing kit, button compass, sewing kit, safety pins, multifunctional knife with scissors, flexible wire saw with split rings, wire to make a snare, waterproof survival instructions, and a pencil. Not bad. It's got this tape around the edges to help it be a little more waterproof. So let's go ahead and take that off. And again, just like in my last video, this tape is something that you wouldn't want to throw away because tape is always an asset in a survival situation. So we'll get that off and set it aside and pop it open. And already I can tell that it shares something in common with those Best Glide survival kits that I have and that I'll be reviewing, and that it's got that caulk-like sealant around the top. It's not a rubber gasket, it's more of a caulk sealant that is spread on there. So if you grab it with your fingernails, you will be able to pull it off. But I imagine it probably gives it a better seal because it's a little more moldable and formable than rubber. Anyway, we've got some waterproof survival instructions, and they're made on waterproof paper. And it's just got a whole bunch of survival instructions. I'm not going to read these right now. It's your basic stuff, I'm sure. Some advertisements for some other gear that they make. It's nice that they put it on waterproof paper so that if you need to, you could write on this, or even if it gets wet, it won't ruin it and you'll be able to read it still. So, alright, so first up, we've got a sewing kit. Looks like it's got a couple needles in there. Now, one needle, and a couple safety pins and a couple buttons and a few colors of thread. Kind of a luxurious sewing kit for a survival kit. Then we've got some cotton balls for tinder in a little baggie. Then we've got some more safety pins. So there's no shortage of safety pins in this kit. A whole bunch of them right there, different sizes. And then here is the fishing kit. Let me go ahead and open this up so we can see what's in there. Sometimes I'll open up these baggies and sometimes I won't. It just depends on how easy it is to see what's inside. Obviously with the tinder and the safety pins, you can see what's in there. You don't need to open those up. We've got 4 swivels, some line, 5 hooks, and 4 weights. Alright, up next we've got this little multi-tool. And this is just your standard Chinese knockoff of a Swiss Army knife. And as a collector of Victorinox Swiss Army knives, it's always amusing to see the knockoffs because they're nowhere near as good as Victorinox, especially when it comes to the quality of the construction and the quality of the steel. But we've got a little pair of scissors, and let's give it a test. Yeah, they cut. I mean, they're not fantastic or anything. They're not the best cutting multi-tool scissors I've ever seen, but they're okay. Then we've got a knife, little bitty stainless steel knife. I'm not sure how sharp this is, but probably not not very sharp. I will definitely have to sharpen this, but even at that, it's probably really low quality steel, so who knows if it's going to get very sharp. And even if it does get sharp, it's probably not going to hold an edge for very long. And then we've got a nail file tool over here that's got a point on it, which could come in handy for certain purposes. So, it's just your basic small multi-tool. It's kind of a Chinese knockoff of the Victorinox Classic. Really not much to write home about. And again, these knockoffs are always really low quality. I mean, you can see it's got a lot of play in it. It would probably fall apart pretty easily. Definitely not something that you want to stake your life on. So if you were to end up in some sort of Aaron Ralston situation, you definitely wouldn't be able to amputate your arm with this. And so for that reason, it's always good to have a really high quality EDC knife or multi-tool with you, so you don't have to use things like this. Anyway, right here we've got a whistle. Let me see how it sounds. Woo! That's actually pretty good. This is one of the better whistles I've seen in these survival kits. A lot of times you get these really piddly whistles that you really couldn't make out if you were in the woods. They'd sound like a bird or something like that. But this one, it actually sounds really good. And it's got a little clip on it, which is kind of cool. And it's got a lanyard hole too. So it's really not a bad whistle at all. Got a candle, which you could use for all sorts of things, not the least of which is making a fire and having some light around your campsite or whatever. Then right here is a mini fire steel. Now they don't give you anything to strike it with, so let's see if the multi-tool will work for that. Let's see. I'll get the file out. And that's not going to work. Let's try the blade. Yeah, it's not working real well. If I was intent on it, I could probably destroy my blade and my knife and get some sparks, but I don't want to destroy this thing quite yet. So I'm not sure what you're supposed to strike this with. It would probably be a better idea if they had put something on the, the lanyard to strike on it. As it is right now, it's a ferro rod, but you really can't do anything with it. I guess in a last-ditch situation, you could use this, but again, you'd really have to go hard at it. Let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. Now it's getting it. But again, it's not doing it very good, so, but I guess, it's better than nothing. Right here, we've got the wire for a snare. It's just your basic little spool of wire. Then we've got a compass. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it works. Okay, it works. Then we've got our saw. And this isn't bad. It's a pretty good quality saw, it seems. I'm not going to go test it because I don't want to destroy it, because I'm sure it's not strong enough for multiple uses. Let's see if I can get this untangled. Okay, so here is the saw, and it's got these pull rings on the ends. Give you something to grab onto, so that's not bad. It's got some good bite on the saw part. So yeah, you could probably saw something small with this. And then last thing we have in here is a pencil, which I guess you could use to write on that waterproof paper if you had to. It'd be nice if they had put a couple sheets of blank waterproof paper, but they didn't. And then we've got the metal container itself and the lid. And I've pointed this out before, the metal container you could use to boil some water or cook some fish or something like that. And even the lid, if you scraped off that sealant, you could probably use this as a miniature frying pan or maybe even a really crude signal mirror, I don't know. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and reassemble the kit. However, I'm going to add in a couple new items that weren't there before. And I like to do this with my survival kits. I open them up and see what's there. and then I'll add or replace items as necessary just to make the kit that much better. So the first thing I'll add down at the bottom is a couple sheets of waterproof note paper. And this came out of a waterproof notebook that I have. And the reason I'm doing this is because, with the waterproof instructions that come with it, there's not a whole lot of space to write. In fact, the only real space is on this page here where they've got this accident evaluation report. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of space. And so if you want to just take some general notes or anything, or write a note to somebody, this will be much more useful for that. So I'll put that at the bottom. Next, I'm going to add in a number 10 scalpel blade. And I'm doing this because I don't have a whole lot of faith in the blade that's on that multi-tool. And if you're going to do any precision cutting, especially on a person, you want to have a sterile razor blade. So there's that. And if you're going to do any cutting, or if you get cut, you're going to want some Band-Aids. So I'll put a couple Band-Aids down here in the bottom as well. Then we'll put the wire saw in. And then our snare wire and the candle. We'll put our compass in right here. And then we'll put our whistle right here and our pencil. And then the next thing I'll add will be this little piece of steel here. And this is meant to strike on a fire steel. This came off of a Schrade fire steel that I had. And I didn't need the striker because I already had one. So I put this in my spare parts bin, and now I'm going to use it. And this will do a much better job of striking against this fire steel, as you can see. Much better. And also, I don't have to risk destroying the multi-tool. So we'll put that there. And then we'll wrap up our fire steel and stick it in there. And we'll put our cotton. And then the multi-tool. And this multi-tool, it would probably be a good idea to just go ahead and replace this with a genuine Victorinox Classic knife that has the same tools. You can get one of those for under $20, and it would be far superior to this little tool. And so I will probably do that eventually, because this is really not very good. And then I'm going to add another thing. This is just a basic medical bag. It's got 4 ibuprofens and 2 Benadryls. Always good to have. Then we'll put our sewing kit, our safety pins, and our fishing gear back in. Like that. See if we can get all this to fit in. Put our notes back on top. And seal it up. And there we go. Now we'll put that tape back around to give it a good seal. Like that. Alright, so we're all sealed up and ready to go. So this is the NDUR Survival Tin. It's pretty decent. It could use a better multi-tool, and it could have used a piece of steel to strike against that fire steel. But other than that, it's pretty good, and I added some items to make it just a little bit better. So it's really not too bad. So once again, this is the NDUR Survival Tin. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time.